Hey everyone, I'm Liz Fairy, and today I'm going to show you how I made these cute crochet deer dolls. I made two different styles, one that's just a regular deer, and one with a red nose for a more holiday themed look. In part 1, I'll show you how to make the head. Some things you'll need for this project are a crochet hook, I'm going to use a size E, a pair of scissors, some stitch markers, a yarn needle, a sewing needle and regular thread, some fiber fill, and a couple of different yarns. I'm using light brown yarn for the main body color, white yarn for the second body color, black yarn for the nose and hooves, and beige yarn for the antlers. And of course, if you want to make the holiday deer, use red for the nose instead. You can also find the written pattern for this doll in my Ravelry store. I'm going to begin by making the head. I'm starting at the nose, so I'll be using my black yarn. If you want to make the holiday deer, you should instead begin with the red yarn first. So I'm going to create a double magic circle and then single crochet 3 using black and 3 using white into my magic circle. So I'm going to pull up a loop and chain 1, and that will count as the first stitch. Then I'll single crochet 2 more into my circle, and on the third stitch of black, I'll leave the stitch open and finish that stitch with a loop of white to change colors to white. You can find out more about how to change colors in my color changes tutorial. Next, I'm going to single crochet 3 using white, and now I'm going to close my magic circle by pulling on the tail a little bit until I have one bigger loop and one smaller loop. Then I'll pull on the smaller loop from the side closest to the tail until the bigger loop gets smaller and disappears, and then I'm going to pull on the tail until the remaining loop closes. If you'd like to see more on how to make a magic circle or a double magic circle, you can check out my magic circles tutorials. I'm going to orient the face of the doll as though the magic circle is the front of the doll's nose, with the beginning of the row counting as the left side of the doll's head, the middle of the row counting as the right side of the doll's head, the black side of the magic circle counts as the top of the doll's head, and the white part counts as the bottom of the doll's head. Now I'm going to single crochet for 2 rows to elongate the nose. In the first row of single crochet, I'm going to single crochet 6 using white and then change colors to brown. When I work into the 3 black stitches of the previous row, I'll work into just the back loop to create a little ridge in between the nose and the fur. So I'll leave the front loop out and single crochet into just the back loop of the stitch. When I work the next 2 stitches, since those are also black yarn, I'll single crochet into just the back loops. Then for the white part, I'll work into both loops of the stitch like normal. At the end of the row, I'll change colors to brown. In the next row of single crochet, I'm going to single crochet 3 using brown, change colors back to white, and single crochet 3 using white. Then I'm going to change colors back to brown. Next, I'll increase at the top of the head 3 times for 3 rows. In row 1 of increase, I'm going to increase the first 3 stitches using brown and then change colors to white. Now single crochet 3 using white and change colors back to brown. In the second row of increase, I'm going to single crochet 1 using brown and then change colors to white. Next, I'll increase the next stitch using white and then change colors back to brown. First, I'll single crochet 1, then increase the next stitch using brown and then change colors back to white. Increase the next stitch using white and change colors back to brown. Single crochet 1 using brown and change colors back to white, and then single crochet 3 using white and change colors back to brown at the end of the row. In the third row of increase, I'm going to single crochet 2 using brown, then change colors to white, then I'll increase the next stitch using white and change colors back to brown. Using brown, I'll single crochet 1, increase 1, and single crochet 2, and then change colors back to white, then increase 1 using white, then change colors back to brown. Then I'm going to single crochet 1, and then change colors back to white. Next, single crochet 3 using white, and this time I'm not going to change colors at the end of the row. In the next row, I'm going to create the cheek by increasing 3 times at each side of the head. I'm going to increase the first 3 stitches of the row, starting with the white stitch and a brown stitch in the same stitch to increase the first stitch. So single crochet 1 white in the first stitch, change colors to brown, and then single crochet 1 using brown in the same stitch. Increase the next 2 stitches using brown, then single crochet 7, and increase the next 3 stitches using brown. Then change colors to white and single crochet 2. Again, I'm not going to change colors at the end of the row this time. Next, to shape the brow, I'm going to decrease 3 times at the top of the head for 1 row. So I'll single crochet 1 using white and then change colors back to brown, single crochet 6, and then decrease 3. To decrease, I'm just going to insert my hook through the front loops of the next 2 stitches, pull up a loop through both of those stitches, and single crochet to decrease. Then I'll repeat that 2 more times. Next I'll single crochet into the last 8 stitches using brown, and once again I won't change colors at the end of the row. I'm going to work the rest of the head just using my light brown yarn. In the next row, I'm going to make the ears. First, I'll single crochet into the first 5 stitches. Then I'll make the ear into the front loop of the next stitch only. At the top of the stitch, there are 2 loops. Here's the back loop and here is the front loop. So I'm going to make all the stitches of the ear into the front loop only, and I'll leave the back loop open, because when I come back to do the next row, I'm going to skip all the stitches of the ear and work into this back loop instead. So first I'm going to use one of my stitch markers to mark that back loop so that I know where to work my stitch when I make the next row. Then into the front loop of the next stitch, I'm going to double crochet 3, make a picot, and then double crochet 3 more times in the same loop. So first I'll double crochet into just the front loop. Then I'll use another stitch marker to mark this stitch of the ear as the first stitch of my group of stitches that I'm going to skip in the next row. Then I'll double crochet 2 more into the same front loop. Next I'll make the picot by chaining 3. Then slip stitch into the 3rd chain from the hook. And then I'll double crochet 3 more times into the same front loop. And I'm going to use another stitch marker to mark the last double crochet as the last of my group of stitches that I'm going to skip in the next row. So now I'm just going to continue working single crochets into the stitches in between the ears until I get to where the other ear should go. I'm going to single crochet 6 times in between. Then I'll repeat the same thing to make the next ear. First I'll use a stitch marker to mark the back loop. And then I'll double crochet into the front loop of the next stitch. And use another stitch marker to mark this first stitch of the ear as the first stitch of my next group of stitches that I'm going to skip in the next row. Then double crochet 2 more into the same front loop. Next I'll make the picot, chain 3 and slip stitch into the 3rd chain from the hook. And then I'll double crochet 3 more times into the same front loop. And I'll use another stitch marker to mark the last double crochet as the last stitch of my group of skipped stitches in the next row. Then I'll finish up the row by single crocheting in the last 5 stitches. Next, I'm going to single crochet in each stitch for 1 row, and I'm going to skip each stitch of the ear and work instead into the back loops behind each ear. So I'll single crochet 5 until I get to the first ear. And now I'm going to skip all the stitches of the first ear. Next, I'll single crochet in that back loop behind the ear. And single crochet into the 6 stitches in between the ears until I get to the next one. Then I'll skip all the stitches of the next ear. Then once again I'll single crochet into the back loop behind the next ear. And I'll single crochet into the last 5 stitches of the row. Now I'll create 2 rows of decrease to finish up the head. In the first row of decrease, I'm going to decrease every 2nd stitch of the row. So I'll single crochet in the next stitch. Then insert the hook through the front loops of the next 2 stitches, pull up a loop through both, and single crochet to decrease. And I'll repeat that across the whole row. Single crochet in the next stitch, then decrease the next 2 stitches together. Before I create my last row of decrease, I'm going to stuff the head with some fiber fill. In the second row of decrease, I'll decrease every single stitch. So I'll insert my hook through the front loops of the first 2 stitches, pull up a loop through both, and single crochet to decrease, and continue doing that for every stitch of the row. At the end of the row, I'll slip stitch to the first stitch to fasten off the yarn, and I'll cut off a long tail to sew the hole at the back of the head closed, to tack down the ears, and to attach the head to the body. Let's take a bit of a break for now so this video doesn't get too long. In part 2, I'll show you how to make the deer's body. See you in part 2!